The radar system has an immediate backup with the Royal Observer Corps, who physically help to plot the direction, probable height, speed and strength of any enemy formation. These details are passed on to Fighter Command, where the information is translated onto a tabletop map of the UK. From this, the group commander is able to send up the appropriate fighter squadrons to intercept enemy formations without wasting time and fuel on long and tiring patrols. With enough time to get our fighters airborne and a height advantage, the squadrons are then vectored onto the enemy formations, who have been ordered to decimate our airfields. The advantages for the RAF are that the battle is being fought over its own friendly territory, and that the radar system around the UK, with chain home low identifying low-flying aircraft, gives the British fighter squadrons enough warning of any raid to scramble its aircraft early enough to gain a height advantage and to know roughly how large the opposition will be. We hear that day after day the Luftwaffe crews are surprised by the opposition they're getting from the RAF, as they are being briefed that Fighter Command is being defeated. In fact, there is an unprecedented effort from the British factories and civilian repair centres, which are producing an increasingly heavy stream of new or repaired aircraft night and day during this vital battle. As the Battle of Britain gains momentum, it has become obvious that the German bombers are slow, too poorly armed, and too cumbersome. The Stuka dive bombers, which were so successful in Spain, Norway and France, are being shot down in droves by the much faster Hurricanes and Spitfires of the RAF. Even the much-hailed Bf 110 two-seat destroyer fighter has proved to be too cumbersome, even as a bomber escort. And the Me 109, although a great match for the Hurricane, but not quite as good as the Spitfire, has been ordered to hold tight formation with the bombers to protect them. At squadron level, RAF maintenance crews are providing elementary repairs, and the unsung Urks, as they are nicknamed, are playing a huge part in keeping their aircraft airworthy for their thankful pilots. The Battle of Britain has evolved in stages, from German attacks on Allied shipping ending by July the 24th, 1940. Stage 2 was fighter versus fighter when the Luftwaffe tried to destroy the RAF in the air. This was between July the 24th and August the 7th. The third phase was the switch to RAF bases, which started on the 8th of August. Then on September the 7th, the Luftwaffe campaign switches again, this time to daylight bombing of London, Britain's capital city. As if Fighter Command hasn't enough to worry about with the battle for our survival raging, it is also responsible for Balloon Command. At secret locations, the balloons are put together by a huge workforce comprising mostly of hard-working women of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force. Recently, the Duchess of Gloucester graced one of the units with her presence to see just what was going on and as a fillip to the morale of the squadron. She toured the huge hangars and witnessed our girls being trained in balloon construction and maintenance. From the sewing benches to sealing these massive blimps. It was back in November 1938 that Fighter Command Supremo Dowding was given overall supervision of RAF Balloon Command. The doctrine of the day was that the bomber will always get through, and one idea to combat that thought was the rebirth of the barrage balloon, which evolved from the kite observation balloons in World War I. Once the balloon is put together, it is inflated, the tethering cables are inspected and attached, while any leaks are sealed. The barrage balloon is moored with many others to form an aerial barrage around and in front of important targets, including towns and even cities. The idea is that the balloons and their cables constitute so great a hazard to low flying that aircraft are forced to fly higher, ensuring that their bombing accuracy is impaired and theoretically make better targets for our anti-aircraft gunners and defending fighters. Finally, the balloon is fully inflated with air so that the girls can actually climb inside to adjust the valves and make good any final sealing problems. Balloon squadrons were formed under the Auxiliary Air Force, but this was expanded into a separate balloon command to provide barrages around the major British towns, cities, and high-priority targets. Dover is one such town to be surrounded by a balloon barrage. But even in the early days of the Second World War, German fighters made light work of the hydrogen-filled balloons. After a few well-aimed bursts of gunfire, the balloon would explode into a ball of fire descending rapidly towards the ground. In spite of the balloon casualties, they continue to knock down unsuspecting, low-flying enemy aircraft as they try to fly under our radar coverage. We have just heard that on September the 17th, Hitler issued a personal order that Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of Britain, has been postponed indefinitely. Göring's original promise that his Luftwaffe could destroy Fighter Command in 4 to 5 days was pure fantasy. So it's grubs up in the officers' or sergeant's mess.
Altitude about 10,000 feet. Altitude about 10,000 feet.
After October the 20th, the Luftwaffe have changed its tactics and are attacking the British cities at night in what is called the Blitz. These attacks are to last until the following spring. Initially, the main target is to be London. Night after night, the massive Luftwaffe air armadas make their way up to the capital city with the avowed intent of destroying not only London, but the morale of the British people. The first real